Yes. All right.
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound. Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. You are in the meeting now. There are 9 participants in the meeting. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. You are unmuted.
That must be Mr. Ferguson.
Hello, hello.
You are on the computer and the phone, aren't you?
Yeah, I couldn't hear it too well on the computer, so I thought I'd try.
I will let you in.
I can get
It was muffled pretty bad.
it, but I can't understand it.
Landon, are you on?
What you call it?
Yes, sir, Mr. Jewell. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. You're on by phone?
No, sir. I'm on by computer.
Okay, we got no video of you.
People look better like that.
There's no signal.
You are muted.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble.
Bill, you're gonna have to do one or the other.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, my goodness.
I think so.
Hey, you're pretty good at that. All right, let me try to cut it off here. Hold a second.
There we go.
Mr. Jewell, I guess right now I'm having some trouble with video, but I'm hearing audio and I hear y'all fine. I see y'all fine.
Okay. Don't know.
I'll keep messing with it here in a minute.
You don't have your camera blocked on your computer or anything, do you?
No, sir. It's just my laptop here, so I'm looking at it, but it's not turning on right now.
I got one of those cute little things that I slide over, man, and I open it up.
Yes, sir. No, sir. It's not blocked. It's there in front of me. It's just something ain't working right now, right?
Hi, Miss Beverly.
She's muted.
Sorry, hello.
Okay, glad you're here. We get David online, that'll pretty much have everybody, I think. I don't know whether Mr. Clarity, whether he was planning to be online or be downtown. Well, I've got 6:01, so I'd like for us to go ahead and get started. Just a few things. If you need to be recognized, just either do the little hand signal on the computer or just do one of these numbers. And we'll try to, there you go, Landon. We'll try to be watching for you. And depending on how you have your computer set up or your phone set up, on most computers, if you want to unmute without hitting the unmute button, you just hit your space bar and hold it down. It's kind of like activating a microphone button. So if you have that enacted, that makes it a lot easier for you to unmute yourself to be able to talk. We're going to try to keep everybody muted unless you're recognized, other than the mayor, myself. Make it so that there's not a lot of background chatter and feedback and things of that nature. I'd like to open the meeting. The meeting is being recorded. We will do a roll call first of all. Amy's going to call out your name and just respond that you are here. And remember to unmute yourself to do that.
Okay. Chairman Dwight Jewell,
Here.
Vice Chairman Jerry Ford,
Here,
Secretary Beverly Atwood, Beverly Atwood,
I'm here, sorry.
there you go. Gary Clarity, Bill Ferguson,
Here.
Bubba Gregory,
you know what the problem
I saw him.
He's
Landon
here.
Gully,
There he
I'm
is.
here.
Okay.
Landon Gully,
He's waving.
he's waving. Richard Harsh,
Hey, it says on mine, I just got it now, but it says the host is not allowing us to unmute, so that's why I could not talk.
okay, that's interesting. Richard Harsh,
He's here, I saw him.
there he is. David Nollner, I'm not able to unmute y'all myself. And Lonnie Taylor. And I see Mr. Taylor. 4, 5, 6, 7,
Mayor
8.
Chambers and Mr. Ford's with you, or is anyone else there, Mr. Chambers?
Brian King is here also, sir.
Okay.
9 members, 1 absent.
Okay. I think I know Mr. Clarity was planning on being here. Maybe he'll drop in later. First item of business is review the minutes or approve the minutes from the November 5th meeting. We failed to get those out in the initial packet, but we did send out an email on those today. Were there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Can I just tell you, make a motion to approve?
Have a
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion by Mr. Ford to approve the minutes as published. Do we have a second?
I second.
Have a second by Mr. Nollner. Any further discussion? All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Get into our agenda tonight. Just want to cover first the items that we have in committees currently. First thing we have the windows are still in the building committee, waiting to get a historical assessment. The personnel policy updates are still being worked on, and in personnel committee and the wage study, I think we're at the point of trying to do something about that. Mayor, do you have anything to add on those things, or is that pretty much where we're at with them?
Yeah, the personnel policy, we are going to ask to do an amendment on that due to the emergency paid sick leave that Congress had passed was mandatory up until midnight on January 1st. That went away. We're going to ask to put something in our policy to cover us and provide some leave. Because if we don't, I can see the situation where we'll have employees still try to come in and work and they may potentially have COVID and spread it. So that is something we'll bring to the personnel committee, and I'll send that out. We've been working on that. I'll send that out to you. And then the wage study, we did get 3 quotes on that. The first one really didn't want to do it because it was $60-something thousand. And the other 2, I passed on the personnel committee, all 3 of those quotes. And One is, I think, has been more responsive than the other, and we'll cover that in the personnel committee, and that the wage study. Mr. Miller's professional opinion is we need to submit the wage study at the same time we do an overhaul of the personnel policy, because the wage study will be pretty comprehensive as far as new job descriptions, complete wage structure, and classification schedule and all that. So it's going to be pretty comprehensive, and his personal opinion or his personal advice was to submit that all in one before we have that done.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about any of those or any further updates? Okay, things we have to go to committee that we know of this month are our budget amendments. We have several budget amendments. First is out of the 101 fund. This is 2021 101 11R, the animal shelter reserves. The animal shelters won't use their committed funds to replace the heating system in the animal shelter down there. This is $4,500. Any questions on it? All of these will just move on to budget and finance unless we decide to do something else with them.
Mr. Chairman, there is one budget amendment. I think it's been submitted. It's, I just not in fact, but we are getting as part of our Tennessee Downtowns program, we are getting up to $15,000 reimbursable grant through the state. The Downtown Committee has voted to do a facade improvement grant. There was no 501c3 that met the requirements for ECD, so they've asked the county to take on that grant. And we're going to ask to amend our economic development funds by add $5,000 for that to make sure we cover the amount. And again, that is up to $15,000 that is 100% reimbursable by the state, and that is the cap we will stick to. We will not go above that. And that grant is going to be to property owners or business owners, if they have the property owners consent, can put up to in for an application, put in an application to receive up to $3,000 assistance to do facade improvements on their buildings. That's windows, doors, lighting, that kind of stuff. It's pretty limited to just the outside of the building, and they have to match that by 25%. So 25% of their project has to be covered out of their own pocket. And again, that is reimbursable. And due to accounting requirements and what to the state, there's no 501c3 that met the requirements. And again, they've asked the county to take that on as part of their program.
So will that be a budget amendment or is that going to committee?
I've spoken to Chairman Harsh, and we're going to take that to economic development to get a recommendation out of that and take that to budget and finance.
Okay.
Move to send that to the Economic Development Committee then.
Have a motion to send that proposal by the mayor for downtowns to economic development, Mr. Harsh. Do we have a second? Mr. Ferguson makes the second. Any other questions about it? Just sending this to committee is all we're doing. All in favor?
Hey, Dwight, I got one question. Does that mean that it's going to budget and finance first, or is it going to economic, and if this passes, and then to budget and finance?
I think that would be the way it would go. Is that not correct, Mayor?
Yes, sir. It's going to economic development, which will meet this Thursday, and then if they vote to recommend it, it will then go to budget and finance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody clear? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move that on to Economic Development Committee. Is that everything for committees before we get back into budget amendments? Didn't mean to get ahead of you, Mayor. Sorry. Okay, on the budget amendments, first one we had was the animal shelter. This is coming out of their reserves to replace the heating and air there, moving it basically line item. Is that correct, Amy?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is 2021-101-12. This is reimbursements from the core civic on medical examiner fees. This is money coming in, is that correct? 5925.
Yes, that is what they are reimbursing us for the autopsies that are correlated to TTCC.
Right. And then 2021-101-13 is funding for the election office. This is some of the CARES Act grant money to help them offset some of their costs with the elections to be compliant with the directives on COVID. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have the last one in the 101, which is 2021-101-14. This is insurance recovery money. This is money coming in on 2 incidents involving patrol cars. One slid off the road and hit a tree, and the other one played tag with a deer. And that's $7,421. We can move all of those to budget and finance. That's the will of the steering committee. Mr. Gully, are you making the motion?
Yes, sir. Make that motion that we move those to budget and finance.
Okay. Have a second by me. I'll second that. We'll get that off.
Eric Clarity was also raising his hand.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Clarity. Go ahead and put Mr. Clarity down as the second. Beverly, please. Any other discussion about those? Any questions about them? We'll take them up more in budget and finance. All in favor, please say aye. Any no's? Hear none? That moves to budget and finance. We also have one in the 151 debt service fund. This is where we're receiving $117,196 from the school board to make the first payment on the note on the middle school roof. In the deal that was worked out, they were to make that first payment, and that's what this money's for. It will go in, we'll take it in from them, and then pay it out at the appropriate time for the payment on that note. Everybody understand what that is? Motion to do that? We'll send it to budget and finance. I'm sorry. Motion to send it to budget and finance.
I'll make a motion to send it to budget and finance.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
You have a motion by Ms. Atwood and a second by Mr. Gully to send that fund budget amendment on to budget and finance. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? It is done. Next, we have some appointments. Well, let me check. Was there any other budget amendments?
No, just the one that the mayor mentioned.
Okay. Do you think we're likely to have any from schools?
No, I have asked Miss Peggy and Miss Angie, and neither the highway or schools will have amendments this month.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we get into the appointments. The mayor sent forth beer board appointment, 4-year term, Bobby Joe Lewis. On the Board of Agriculture, these are 2-year terms. All 4 are reappointments there. Frida Cornwell, Jerry Ford, Landon Gully, and Mr. William Beasley. On the Board of Zoning Appeals, this is for a 4-year term. Mark Harper, this is a reappointment myself to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And then Health Officer, Kathy Atwood is a reappointment. On the Highway Commission, Mr. Bobby Joe Lewis is a reappointment for a 2-year term. On the Planning Commission for a 4-year term, reappointment would be Mr. David Nallner. And on the Water Utility Board, reappointment of Craig Moreland for a 4-year term. Are there any other appointments, Mayor?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay. Will we not have another water board with Mr. Beeler resigning? Or did we already do?
A few months ago,
We already did that one. That's right.
May was appointed and this meeting this month should be her first meeting.
Okay. All right. Any questions on the appointments? We'll have those up for our,
Heather Bain,
B-A-Y.
yeah. Everybody get that?
yeah.
All right, let's see. What do we have next? I keep losing my agenda. It's in front of me, I know. Let's see, appointments. Have a resolution 2021-01-705. Mayor, I'll let you explain this one a little bit, or Amy, y'all have been more involved with this. It's due to COVID, we've got some issues with Sheriff's Department, the guards and their vacation time not being able to carry it forward. Go ahead, if you could explain it better than me, please do.
When it came down to the end of the year, the sheriff had some deputies who had requested vacation time. He was not able to grant that due to some staffing shortage of other guards and other deputies testing positive for COVID-19. And so he's asking, since this is such unusual circumstance, they did test positive for C-19. He's asking if we could amend the policy to allow them to extend the vacation into what would be the first quarter of this year.
This would just be a temporary thing for those
That's what I was
specific
asking.
employees with the Sheriff's Department. Would it apply to anybody else, or do we think we're gonna have anybody else in this situation?
To my knowledge, the sheriff's department is the only one that was in this situation, and so it is specifically for the sheriff's department. It does not apply to any other department.
Do we feel this needs to go to Personnel Committee or just send it on to the full body would be my main question.
Send it on.
We have 20 people wanting to send it on.
Y'all sound the same.
Mr.
Anybody?
Chair.
Do you think, Mayor, do you think it needs to go to personnel?
Personnel can discuss it if they'd like to. If not, I mean, it's kind of up the will of this body. It's pretty cut and dry. It's only going to affect that one department. If you vote to send it on to the full commission, you can. If you prefer to have personnel look over it, but as I said, it's pretty cut and dry. Given that we are in such unusual circumstances, I don't have an issue with sending it straight to the commission.
I feel since the personnel chairman, committee chairman has said send it on, would be appropriate to go ahead and send it on to the full body without objection. Is there any objection to doing that? Hearing none, we will just send this resolution on to the full body and put it on our agenda for this month.
If I can also add, in talking with Brandon Beller, we are able to make this a short-term amendment with the approval of the county attorney, which is why his signature is also going to be on this resolution. And Mr. Gary Clarity also had his hand up.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clarity? Sorry.
Mr. Jewell,
Yes, sir.
could we not just pay them what vacation times owed them and let them start over again?
I guess we could, but that's not what's been asked of us to do.
I know, well, that would be the simplest way to take care of it, wouldn't it? Instead of extending vacation over to another year.
It's really only for a 3-month period, is so that, you know, or 4 months. It's not, you're not extended for a full year.
Yeah, I understand that, but see, they would still already have their vacation days for the next year that they could use in that month anyway, couldn't they?
Well,
I think they're actually requesting time off though.
Yeah. My understanding, they're not asking to be paid for it. They're wanting to be able to take their time off, and we've denied them, or the sheriff has denied them the opportunity to be able to do that. The request, I think, is a reasonable request to try to extend that time. And I think if we come down to this deadline in April, certainly, and they haven't seen that they're going to be able to get it, it would be think it would be very much in line to try to go ahead and pay them for that time. But right now, they're just asking to take it at a later date in that first quarter. I would go with what we've been asked to do.
Okay,
certainly-
that'd be fine. That'd be fine. I just wondered if some of them would rather have the money than to have the time off.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of
They're gonna get
people.
paid.
There's a lot of people every year that would rather have the money than to have the time off.
Yeah, but this is an odd circumstance here that you couldn't take off because of the COVID.
Well, I guess we can ask that between now and work session, and if we need to change it or amend it or do something with it then. But like I
So
say,
either way with me be fine. I just wondered if some of them had rather do it that way.
well, I've not been contacted by any of them. I've not talked to anybody about it. Amy, was that ever mentioned? Mayor, was that mentioned in your discussions with the sheriff?
No, that was never mentioned as far as being paid for it. They were requesting the actual days off for rest.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Amy, do we know how many people there is actually in need of this?
It's my understanding that it's most of the jail employees because it's been such a hot spot for the COVID virus.
Thanks.
It specifically says jail guard employees.
That's what I was
It's
thinking.
it's not all
Mhm.
members of the sheriff's department by all means. It says specifically jail guard employees. If that, there again, if that needs to be changed or amended, we'll have that worked out before work session. Let's go ahead and try to take this up at work session and get it on our agenda for this month because they need to know for sure what's going to be able to be done for them. Any objection to doing that? Then we'll move on then. Excuse me. We have several ordinances. These all are to doing with rezoning. They're all second reading. We'll have a public hearing and a second reading on all of them. Are there any questions on any of those? The ordinance 207-2020-22, a rezoning from R1 to R2 up on Halltown Road. And ordinance 208-2020-23, a rezoning from A1 to R1 on Highway 231 South. Third one was 209-2020-24, rezoning of C2 to R3 property on Hayes Avenue. Like I say, we've had first reading on these. They all passed. This will be public hearing and second reading. Are there any questions on those? Hearing none. Move on, Mayor, you head down discussion of virtual meetings. We had made the decision because of our COVID numbers, how much they were on the rise right before Christmas, to try to go back to a Zoom meeting or a hybrid Zoom and in-person meeting until our numbers kind of got back under control. And they did extend the time to allow us to do this, is why we felt it prudent to do this. We've had a lot of people in our community with COVID. Several of our commissioners have had it in their family and are still dealing with this. We've got several members of our community very sick that need our prayers and understanding at this time. The numbers appear to be going down slightly. We're going back in the right direction. What I had asked, what the mayor and I, in talking with each other, felt it prudent to try to do at least the committee meetings by Zoom, but to also have a room either in the courthouse or somewhere set up for people that were not able to come in, tune in on Zoom, to be able to come and actually be there in person, much like the mayor and Mr. Ford are doing today. We plan to have the full commission meeting unless things really have a big spike after the Christmas time week hits us, at the courthouse in a regular face-to-face meeting, both the work session and the commission meeting. We plan to right now have those as in-person meetings, but would like for all the rest of the committee meetings this month, at least the first 2 weeks of this month, to try to be by Zoom until we can get those numbers a little bit more under control. What we were doing. Mayor, do you want to add to that?
I'll just say I've been keeping an eye on the numbers since Christmas. We did see a spike about a week or so after Thanksgiving. And if you look, we had Christmas, and about 7 days later, we saw 13 new cases pop up. And since January 1st, we've had 38 new cases, so we're averaging 7.6 a day. So we have been keeping an eye on that. We are down. We did hit a high of 108 active cases before Christmas. Now we're down to 80, but that did go up 3 since yesterday. We were down to 77, now we're up to 80. As I said, we've had 38 new cases since January 1st. So I am a little bit concerned about that spike. We might see that continue here in the next few days since we've had Christmas. But also I'm a little bit concerned that now we've had some cases reported in the United States of that new strain that we first saw in the United Kingdom, that it seems to be much more contagious than what we've had before. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that as well. When we have another new strain come out of South Africa that is also and more contagious than the strain we've been dealing with. It also seems to be a little bit more resistant from initial reports that I've seen, a little bit more resistant to the vaccinations that have been given out. So that's still in the initial information gathering on that. So I am a little bit concerned there, but we are going in the right direction. As I said, we were 108, now we're 80. Hopefully, given that a lot of people seem to have stayed closer to home during Christmas, we had the snow there on Christmas Eve that affected some travel. Hopefully, we won't see a big spike like we did after Thanksgiving. And we'll continue to evaluate that, and if things change, we can go back to in-person meetings. And we're also evaluating this as far as when to reopen the administration building. But right now, I'm just a little bit leery seeing those rash new cases here in the last 5 days.
Thank you. I hope that's okay with everybody. We wanted you to understand why we were trying to do this if you didn't. And I know this is in some ways possibly an inconvenience for some people, maybe not as convenient, a little harder to hear and understand, but it just seemed, in light of the way the numbers were going, prudent to be able, to go ahead and go back to this type of meeting, at least on the committees. We have been in contact with the high school for some time, and Dr. Satterfield about our high school representative on the commission, and kind of lost some communications there early on with schools, starting with all that they had to deal with. Our understanding, they did not have any senior apply to do this, but they did have a junior. And so we do have one junior that wants to be our student representative. Since it's going to be so late bringing them on board and they are a junior, the question came up, should we just go ahead and let them do it for the remainder of this year and next year? Which, they're only going to have basically 4 meetings, the rest of this year, 5 at most, as far as real, regular commission meetings, and try to get this process started prior to school being out in the years to come. And so we've written a resolution basically doing that this student representative would be for the rest of this school year and next year. That the negative I see to that is that next year, if you have some seniors that would have applied that, didn't know they could this year, so I can see both ways on that. I think, personally, I think we should at least go ahead and let them do this year and not exclude them from doing it another year, but to So we have a little bit of a decision to make there, and just wanted some input as to what your thinking was on it. It's not something that we necessarily have to decide tonight or need to decide tonight. But we do need to decide it by work session so we can have it on the agenda. Landon, you deal with these kids every day. What would be your thoughts on that, if you don't mind me picking on you there?
Don't mind a bit, Mr. Jewell. I really like the way you put that piece there of in the opportunity that some kid may want to apply this summer, since they were not a senior, didn't have it addressed to them. I think it'd be a great thing to put Ethan in right here. He's a great young man, I think, for this stint here of time, and then bring him back, give him the chance to reapply, but yet let some others have the chance if someone were to wish to apply.
Anybody else like to speak to this?
I'm in agreement with Landon. I think that would be the perfect opportunity to let Ethan fulfill the year out and then not exclude him, but then still give him the opportunity, but to give the others the opportunity if someone else wanted to jump on board.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Gary, what's your thoughts on it?
I agree with Beverly and Landon. Just go the way it is right now.
Mayor, you see any reason not to do it that way?
No, it's completely up to the commission if that's how you prefer to do it. And I will also say there has been just a few years ago when we had 2 co-student representatives. If you decide in the future, if you want to keep Mr. Bowles in, bring on another one, you can do that as well. There is precedent.
Awesome.
I think that has merit as well. Amy, why don't we go ahead and just write this resolution for him this year and put in there that maybe some wording that he would also not be excluded from his senior year. Can we do that? Okay.
I like it.
To me, that's fair. To me, if we just say, okay, you do it this year and the rest of next year, we may be putting somebody out that wouldn't have the opportunity, but it also just, to me, just seems kind of lazy on our part. But that's just my thinking there. But let's just take it that way.
Who is the representative? Ethan who?
Bowles.
Ethan Bowles is the only one that applied, showed any interest, and of course comes highly recommended.
Bubba, that is Janet and Martin Bowles' son.
Okay, I didn't say a name here. I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Bubba, you have any problem with doing it that way? You okay with that?
I'm good. I just didn't know the name.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Hart, you okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay. Mr. Ford, you all right with that?
I'm fine with that, Dwight, because we don't know what COVID's going to do. We may be meeting like this a whole year.
Yeah.
After Christmas, it's supposed to be another real bad spike again here in the next few days. So we don't know what it's going to do. And I think that'd be the safest thing to do and probably be better for him. He ain't going to get nothing out of it 2 or 3 months, and he's going to get to come if he gets to come.
Well, I mean, the whole purpose for doing this is to get them some experience with county government in the hopes that it's something that they can feel comfortable in trying to pursue as they go into adulthood. And it has been helpful at times with certain things that we've had to have their perspective and to have their input. Mm-hmm. And I value that highly. Mm-hmm. So I certainly don't want us to diminish this. I do think that we need to place a little bit more importance on it. It might mean that we need to go to a meeting at the high school and as a group or a few of us and tell them what we're trying to do and why we want them to be involved in it. Maybe it's not being explained to them well enough. I think typically we've left it almost to whoever was doing it to try to put bugs in the ear of the juniors. You want to do this too, kind of thing. And evidently that's not coming across for whatever reason, maybe as much as it was in the beginning.
Chairman Jewell.
Yes, sir.
If I might add there as well, you might get someone like, I know Justin Freeman took his you know, the little bit he had learned and the opportunity to gather there. And I say a little bit, but the young man learned a lot. He talked quite a bit with me about it. I mean, I know he's my nephew, but we talked quite a bit just to get an understanding there of things. And he actually went up to Tech and got on their student governing body. And quite a few, you know, of the pieces he's talked about some similarities, how some things he learned along the way. So he might could take that back to to our seniors as well. Someone like that as a representative. I think he would definitely be one that would be willing to, you know, portray what is there for us very well.
Good idea.
Just throwing this out there, we could always have like Mr. Goldie, since he is already in education, to maybe go and speak with some of the upcoming seniors at the school.
Like I say, I think where we
Don't choke me, Landon. Okay.
Yeah, he's laughing at you, but he would do that. I know.
Certainly.
The thing, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, I would like to see us where we're waiting for school to start, for them to start this process. With all that's going on at school, particularly this year with COVID, but even without COVID, it's a hectic time for them. I think it would be better if this process could be started in the spring before they let out for school, if possible. And as far as that would help us not run into starting the year and still not having anybody. Much like we've tried to start our budget process a little earlier, maybe we need to try to start this process a little earlier. Have any other business? Any public comments? Any comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Jewel, Mr. King is here. He has a public comment. I'm going to give him the microphone.
Okay.
I would just add to the subject you were just discussing about the student representative. The person who shows interest at the junior level.
Mayor, we cannot hear Mr. King.
If you have a student at the junior level that is showing interest in being a student representative for council, I personally, for what it's worth, like the thought of allowing them to run for this year and then also reapply alongside potentially a senior and have two for next season. I don't think we can foster that initiative enough. So I would like to see the council consider, you know, having two if two apply.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I think that's what we basically, the consensus of the regiment, so to speak, was to do that. Thank you, Mr. King. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Any other business we need to discuss? Mayor, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Going once, going twice. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Ford and a second by Mr. Gully. All in favor? Hit the little button.
All right.
For
Thank
sure.
you, everyone. Appreciate your attendance. Hope this worked out well for you. And if there's critique, comment, make it better, let us know, and we'll certainly take it to heart.
Well, I have
Everybody, please stay healthy. Please stay healthy.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just.
Go ahead.
Just for, as far as the sound here, I did use a separate microphone. I have a webcam set up, but I also have a separate microphone I'm using that's sitting over by Mr. Ford. I'm using obviously the PA system since I'm a little bit further away, and I just want to know, were you able to hear Mr. Ford okay plus the PA system, or was it kind of sketchy all the way around?
We could hear Mr. Ford. We could hear you. You weren't very loud. It would be good if you were a little bit louder. But there is that echo. It might be better if we were in a smaller room, possibly the downstairs room or even your office, where the acoustics might be a little better and you not get that echo effect. But yes, I could hear Mr. Ford very.
Well, I don't think, since we can have up to 10 people, I don't want to do it in my office. I don't think we'd be able to social distance properly there. The downstairs courtroom, it does not have sufficient Wi-Fi or internet service in there. It's real sketchy. It's kind of choppy. The only other place I think we could do it other than here in the courtroom, since it's so, the acoustics are not that great, is at the community center.
Well, I can hear you right now better than I could during the meeting.
Well, that's because I'm standing about 2 feet away from this omnidirectional microphone.
Okay, okay. But it worked. I think it worked. I'm okay.
Well, we'll work on it, see if we can improve something for the next meeting. And if we're not going to have the turnout, or the turnout's going to be similar like we did tonight, where we had one committee member in person, I might be able to get a little bit closer to the microphone or just speak up if it seems like it's picking up pretty well.
That's picking up really well.
Okay. Well, I've got the sensitivity turned all the way up, so I was
Yeah.
a little bit closer seems to be better. So I would say just speak it up a little bit better to the omnidirectional is better than using the PA system because of the echo. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, well, then I'll just not worry about the PA system next time and just speak up louder.
Okay. Okie doke.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
You do too. Thanks, Amy.